I'd like to introduce our lunchtime presentation right now. We have with us two people to talk about raising money on the internet. We have with us today Pia Carusone of Republic Restoratives, who, along with her partner Rachel Gardner, has raised more money than any distillery so far on Indiegogo. And with her also to talk about this is the CEO and founder of Indiegogo, Rubin.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, guys. How are you? We're not going to sit in these chairs, we decided.
We need to keep our steps up. We're getting tracked, so we need to walk around the stage.
It's true.
This is a huge room.
We love conference rooms.
There's definitely a lot of people still getting their food. But, you know, we hope to excite you in the next 45 minutes with nothing better than money.
But if any of you feel like you have all the money you need and you're totally well capitalized and resourced, the showroom floor is still open. But if anyone's still looking to raise money,
if you want to figure out how to raise $1 million, maybe in the next 6 weeks, whether it's through perks or through equity, this might be a good 45 minutes. We'll start a little slow, nice and basic, and probably by the end you'll be like, where was that fire truck that just crushed me with information? I have no idea what's going on. But keep in mind, we'll be around for questions afterwards that's needed. But let's just start with the reason many of you are here is you love distilling and you are incredible makers. So we have an example of that right here. So do you want to take the stage?
Thank you, Slava. I think I'm on it, but I appreciate you offering me to take it.
Oh, yes, she is on it.
So, no, we're really excited. Slava is the founder of Indiegogo. It's a major tech company. If you haven't heard of it, you should by now. The fact that he's here with us today is super exciting, so let's give him a warm round of applause from all of our distiller community.
So sweet.
And we are going to have time for questions. So I'm sure many of you are thinking about how this might fit in for your company. We'll have time for that at the end. Really quickly, though, Rachel and I founded Republic Restoratives. Our team is up here in the front. This photo here is the corner of our property down in Washington, D.C. I know many of you were down there over the course of the weekend coming in to participate in the Gin Summit or for cocktails, et cetera. So thank you for stopping by. Rachel and I are childhood best friends. So how many of you are working on these distillery projects with friends of yours? Yeah, like what's better than actually running a business with a friend? So Rachel and I literally grew up together, and about 5 years ago we decided, you know what, let's actually try to make this friendship more of a business relationship, and it's been awesome ever since. We are also one of the very few women-owned distilleries in the country. Many of our colleagues are over at the Load Lunch. What a name. So again, this is our distillery on the right, the inside on the left. We're a very open floor plan type of layout. Welcome to talk to you all more about that later. We are really excited in DC because our local liquor law allows for a cocktail bar. So I know many of you are in states that are thinking of allowing it. Only very few states in the country do, but this is a shot of our bar, and it's been really, really exciting for us, not just because it's an extra source of revenue, but it brings people into the space, allows them to participate in our company in not just a retail fashion, but also really hanging out in our tasting room. The backbone of the distillery is a 2,000-liter twin kettle system, custom built. It's a showpiece, obviously. We expose the wall there behind it to the street. So we've got tons of passerbyers every day that get to see the still. They ask us, what is it? Is it a coffee urn? Is it a giant soup container? It's like we get all sorts of things. But that's at the center of our project. We are building we're building a connected family of brands, but foundation has been laid by these 3 brands. We're super excited to win Best of Packaging for Borough last night. But on the left, there is Rodham Rye, which came out a week and a half ago. It's been exciting, and Civic Vodka on the right was our first launch in May. So we're here to talk about money. We're going to talk in detail about crowdfunding, but very quickly, our timeline. Kentucky Derby Day 2015, Rachel and I launched our perk campaign, our first crowdfunding campaign. We raised $119,000 and change in 30 days. We beat our first goal and then beat our stretch goal. So very, very exciting. That led to lots and lots of good things, including a tremendous amount of press. Washington Post gave us great coverage, as well as lots of other local media outlets. And really what that allowed us to do is raise even more money. true kind of like, classic investors were coming to us at that point and saying, wow, you guys really pulled off an incredible crowdfunding campaign. How did you do that? You really must have your shit together. Are you open to more traditional investments? So it was the foundation from which everything else was built. We ended up raising somewhere around 1.5 between the crowdfunding, the equity investors, and then at the end, finally, the bank came in with a little bit of cash. And that process, by the way, I know many of you are sort of thinking through how to put your capital stack together. Like, you need good people around you. For us, we sort of knew what we knew and what we didn't. One of the things we needed more help on was our financial sort of planning and like understanding. So Scott Schiller from Thoroughbreds Consulting Group was a major part of our founding team and our big decisions. I really suggest if you aren't experts in this sort of stuff, find somebody that is, because the worst thing, as you're probably hearing at this conference, is when you get into a situation that you're not quite sure how to find your way out of. So Scott and his team really helped us. So anyway, fast forward, that was 2015 in May. A whole year, we then opened 2016 May. So it took us a year to raise the rest of the money, build the space out. And then in the fall, Indiegogo was getting ready to launch a new platform that we're going to talk about today. It was equity crowdfunding. And we jumped at the chance to participate again. Again, we're going to talk more about this, but the most simple thing I can tell you about crowdfunding is that, yes, the money is helpful, but it's the community that you build and foster that is invaluable. It is totally priceless to your business. And for us to offer our folks a chance to actually financially invest in our company, it was a 5-minute conversation. We were in, and we moved forward with building the platform. In the end, we raised $300,000 from 630 investors in, I think it was 45 days this time. That was November. And that's it. So again, we're going to get into a lot of the details, but Slava, tell them about Indiegogo.
All right. So if we could flip to the other deck. Great. So I'm one of the founders of Indiegogo, and what we do is something that the media calls crowdfunding. So we're going to start really slow here. Most of you probably know about crowdfunding, but often you think of it as the perks-based crowdfunding. So you could crowdsource anything, whether it be water, money, light, anything. So for example, if the lights just went out and it was super dark in here, one of the best ways to light this place up is everybody would turn on their flashlight, their individual flashlight on their phone. So each little bit of light would crowdsource, via the crowd here, enough light to light up the room. And you could do that with anything, lots of small bits of something to get one big accomplishment done. So what we created in 2008, in January, was crowdfunding, which is lots of individual small bits of money from individual people connected to be a big lump sum to accomplish some sort of project that Pia just talked about. So that's been called perks or rewards-based crowdfunding. It's now existed since 2008. It is old hat. If you think that's what we're here to talk about, it's quote-unquote yesterday's news. I'm happy to talk about it. That's not why I'm here. That's the end of us talking about perks crowdfunding. We're actually here to talk about equity crowdfunding, which is something brand new. In 1932 was the last time that you can do quote-unquote equity crowdfunding. In 1933, there was a law passed called the Securities Act of 1933, which created the SEC, which created things that does not allow anymore for people to publicly solicit investments to common people. And when I say common people, it's over 99% of Americans, over 98% of Americans, which is if you don't have over $250,000 salary or over $1 million of net worth, which that makes you called an accredited investor, it means you are not a sophisticated investor according to the law of the Securities Act of 1933. Since 1933, the only way a common person can invest in one of these companies is when they went public. And public means an IPO through the SEC approval. Because if they approved it, then common people should have access. Well, that is an archaic law, and it's taken a long time. But in 2012, Indiegogo was part of signing the Jobs Act with President Obama at the White House to implement equity crowdfunding to be possible. It actually took 4 years for it to finally go live because the various organizations within government wanted to not move it forward quickly. They were very concerned about people losing their money. Finally, it went live in May 2016, which is less than a year ago. So just now, this is a new concept, less than a year old. So if you think you're sitting now and you know all about this because you've heard about crowdfunding, we're not talking about that topic. We're talking about something very new, very innovative, and it's equity crowdfunding where actually the people can invest into a financial instrument, meaning they can get equity in your company or they can get rev share so they can make money back, not just get a perk. Even though getting bourbon is wonderful, some people want money back as an investment. So this is one of those opportunities. So this is brand new, and it's an exciting thing that's happening. So the reason we're talking about it today is because we just launched our equity platform in November. Brand new. We waited. We didn't want to launch in May when it went live because we wanted to see how the industry started to shake out. And already we have case studies, and a matter of fact, Pia with Republic Restoratives is already one of the case studies, and we'll talk about that, which is so exciting. And this is, we believe, the whole new wave of where crowdfunding is going. Yes, perks is cool, and we'll talk about the choice between the two and how you should navigate that. But the idea of being able to get people contribute $50,000 in one lump sum, that's what's happening right now on Indiegogo as investments. Getting $50,000 from one perk would be very hard because usually people give like 50, 100, 250, maybe 1,000. People are giving now on average $700, nevertheless going up to $50,000 one investment. So it's a total game changer. You don't have to wait till a company now IPOs. Your neighbors, your friends, others can invest in your company. Here are some of the stats. This is only since May. Remember, this did not exist before May of last year. So this is brand new. These are some of the brand new stats. So there's already been about $30 million committed. So this is money that has gone into these different companies. So 45% of the companies so far listed on all platforms, not on our platform. On all platforms, there's about 36 of them. 1 out of 2 has been getting funded, which means it meets its threshold to receive its money. I'm happy to say that Indiegogo, we're a little bit better than that. We're actually 100%. Every single company we've put up has received this threshold to actually get all of its investment dollars. What's interesting so far, and it's brand new, is the majority of the money is coming right now from California, Texas, Massachusetts, but actually all states have been participating. And then you can see actually some of the industries that are early adopters and doing well of going towards this new concept. And you see food and beverage is actually one of the industries that is leading the charge. Not just distilling, but also restaurants. I think the idea of local is working very well. The idea of we have this thing which is in our town. Do you, my neighbors, and the people in the town want to support this concept and invest in our future together? It is resonating not only on our platform, but in the industry. And it'll be interesting to see how this all goes forward. See, this is a new option for entrepreneurs. One of the hardest things, so I have an advisor, his name is Alan, and when I was able to raise money, so far we've raised nearly $70 million for Indiegogo from VCs. And when I was raising money, we raised our first $1 million. And I said, Alan, now that we have $1 million, I really want to know what are the keys to making sure that Indiegogo doesn't fail? Like, what are the key things that happen? And Alan has very dry humor. And Alan says, most companies that fail, they run out of money. The point is, it's really important to understand how you can diversify your financial stack, knowing when you should raise money from who, how, when you should bootstrap, when you should get credit card, maxing out, when you should go to a bank loan, when you should get perks-based campaigns, when you should do VCs, when you should do like private equity, when you should do any of these things. And now you have equity crowdfunding. Is this the holy grail? Like everybody here in this room is good for equity crowdfunding, you should do it tomorrow, it'll be perfect for you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But this is something that on April 2016 was not an option to you. And now you have a brand new option in your tool belt. So now your head of finance, your CFO, or if you are the entrepreneur, head of finance, CFO, and janitor all yourself, you have a whole new option for yourself. Anyone, this is key, anyone can be an investor. I don't know if I can beat this over people's heads anymore, but this is revolutionary. It did not exist. Securities Act of 1933 did not allow this until this went live. anyone can invest as long as they're 18 years old. And depending on how much money you do make, you can invest up to a $2,000 limit or up to a $10,000 limit. And we help you navigate that. It's based on your salary and stuff, but these are details as part of compliance with the rules according to the SEC and FINRA, the financial organization that helps run this stuff, that anyone can be an investor, but there are some limits. But the fact that anyone can invest is revolutionary. So again, it could be your friends, your college mates, your sports buddies, anybody who you know. The cool thing about entrepreneurship, and you really are the engine here in this room, is in America, the economy is actually driven by small businesses. So in the last 30 years, almost all net new jobs have been from small businesses of 5 years or younger that have created all the jobs. That's because these companies grow rapidly, and then they have many jobs. The big companies, net new, have very few net new jobs because of layoffs and then new jobs. Actually, over the last 30 years, it's been flat to down. But the new jobs in the economy come from new companies like yours. So it's very exciting for you to have new options to grow the economy by having more employees and more to the GDP. Now, a lot of you are saying, okay, this is interesting. I actually have my own company, so I want to know what can I do, or selfishly, how do I get the money, or what exactly do I need to do? So we're going to actually try to answer some of your questions, and all of you can come up with questions. We're going to have a mic right here where there's the camera. At the end, when we're done, anybody can walk up here and ask a question, but I'm going to now ask Pia some questions to try to imagine if I was like talking to you. Okay? So Pia, why did you end up doing Perks crowdfunding to start off with, which is not equity?
Yeah, so we knew that we had a lot of money to raise, and we had very, very few accredited investors in our own network. So as Slavin described, these are people that make a tremendous amount annually and have at least $1 million net worth. We have very few of those people in our lives, personally. So, but we did have a lot of people willing to give us $100, or maybe $200, maybe even $1,000. And we began to research the idea of crowdfunding. Rachel and I, just at the core of this company, transparency is a big part of what we're doing. We found that in history, a lot of distilleries have been a little harder to sort of access and understand the true foundation of how the products are made, or really where the money's coming from, et cetera. So everything from the big glass corner that you see where people can really visibly inspect our space, but also how we're putting together the finances felt important for us to involve as many people as possible. So we began looking around. Kickstarter's probably a company you've heard of. They do good things, but they had one major limitation for all of us in this room. They don't allow alcohol as a perk. And because we actually make something that people want, and we can give away more than just a t-shirt, like we were able to give away, basically we did a pre-order process, so like pre-order a bottle of vodka or bourbon. Indiegogo allowed that, and it was sort of a no-brainer. And yeah, I mean, it was just sort of like the obvious way to also publicly announce the existence of this company through the crowdfunding campaign.
I know that you get emailed all the time because you've been successful with your Perks campaign. You get email, call, people like find your phone number randomly. They're like, how can I raise a bunch of money? Can you help me? What are the tricks?
Yeah.
So you can probably talk about this for an hour easily, but what would be your 2 minutes? I know it's going to be hard to limit to 2 minutes. What would be your 2 minutes of advice of how to run a good Perks distillery campaign?
So the big key is that it is truly a campaign. It's not just a launch and then you walk away and you come back 30 days later and there's all this cash. Every day is a new day. You have to be promoting the campaign. You have to offer people fresh, new information and ideas. Here in 2017, people want to see a lot of video. They don't have time. They don't want to read paragraph after paragraph. Like finding ways to visually demonstrate the project and the gap that we're trying to fill, and if filled, the final solution to that was really, really important. So renderings, for example, like our architect was able to provide us like actual physical renderings. That was important. Drawings of our still, like things that people could sort of really conceptually understand. And then I think the other thing is the announcement video. We spent time and money on a video. It's difficult to play here today, but it's on our website, and you can of course see it on the Indiegogo platform. That, I think, people still say to us today that was like an incredible experience for them to be able to see this really raw space. We're standing in a gravel pit. There's so much to do, and then overlaying like renderings of here's like if you invest with us, we could actually make this happen. I think those are the two things that people don't pay enough attention to.
And then what day, so you got the money from the Perks campaign, what day did you open up shop?
So the Perks campaign was May 2015. A full year later, we opened up shop in May 2016.
Okay, so May 2016, you're open.
Yep.
And now you're thinking about, hey, business is rolling.
Yep.
We can use some more capital.
Yep.
And one of your options is equity crowdfunding, which is this brand new thing that Indiegogo is doing. How did you navigate that decision amongst your other choices of capital?
Yeah, well, and to that point, right, we opened in May 2016. We did a pre-party for our Indiegogo investors, and by investor, I'm saying sort of the perk community. They then became the top 5 sort of most positive element of the launch of our company. I mean, people coming in and saying, oh, I'm a part of this, I invested. Like, there was truly a community that was built around this. So then, fast forward to roughly October, November timeframe, Slavin's team called and said, we're launching this platform, do you want to be involved? And the chance to actually offer, everyone at the same time, but including our first perk community, the chance to sort of take the financial ride with us and succeed financially alongside us was sort of like an easy decision. We hadn't at that time decided when and how we were going to raise more capital. We knew we needed it. We weren't sure exactly the moment, but the chance to be involved early in this innovative new idea of equity crowdfunding was sort of enough to tip us over to do it then.
And if it wasn't for equity crowdfunding, what other financial raise would you be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, the 2 obvious ones are raising more equity, which means giving away more of our company, or looking for more debt. And I don't really know that we're...
How would you have raised the equity?
Yeah, well, first we would have gone to our current equity investors and asked if anyone wanted to sort of re-up and increase their share. But again, that would have come straight out of our ownership of the company. And if they didn't want, then we would have to sort of go person by person to try to find folks. You can't advertise with a true sort of like SEC investment, right? That's illegal. Except now there's a way to do it through Indiegogo and this new platform. But yeah, it would have been very hard. And then debt. I mean, we already have a loan. I don't know if the bank is interested in giving us any more money. We were going to have to like go in and go through that whole rigmarole and probably not get much from them. Because again, we're new, right? This was November, so it was only like 5 months after we opened.
Would you have been, I don't even know, but would you have even been able to get another loan?
I don't know. I mean, the bank's excited about what we're doing, but you know how they are. They're very tight. And by the way, I'm sure many of you have gone through this. In terms of like collateralizing the loan, they're more interested in our hot water heaters and the actual like physical plant than they are what's actually worth money, which is whiskey in a barrel. Banks don't like understand our business very well. So that was really hard for Rachel and I.
So you did a perks campaign, and then you did an equity campaign.
Yeah.
What was the difference in the pre-launch?
Yeah, that's interesting. So the pre-launch for the equity campaign, admittedly, is a little more complicated. Made easier by Indiegogo, but you are actually registering with the SEC, a company, and you're offering a financial instrument. So they're different than just like offering T-shirts and like posters. There's a little more to do, but it also was actually great for us because we went through a mini financial audit, which like is worth doing and should be done every year. So we actually learned a lot from the process. It took a couple weeks. We did another video. We worked on sort of the press rollout and the branding. And by the way, we got a whole nother round of great press. That like offering people that live in Washington the chance to literally financially invest in a distillery that they could then have a cocktail in like that day. People loved it.
What percentage of your investors came from your own network? Do you know?
I think very few.
Really?
Few. Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel good.
Yes, we have a lot of international investors, people from all around. I think there are some. There's definitely some overlap from the perk campaign to the investor campaign, but there's also just brand new people that saw the opportunity, got excited, and read through our entire offering. We decided to go with a rev share. Slavin said revenue share, so different than equity. But
what was the rev share? What was the actual thing people invested into?
So the offering was a 5% revenue share in our profit, in our revenue, until they recapitalize 1.5x of their return. So in the end, you give us $100. If everything goes well, you will take away $150, which is a very good return. Restaurants and bars are typically somewhere around 1.3, so we're on the high end of like the restaurant bar world.
And you were paying that out quarterly?
We're paying it out quarterly, I think, or monthly. We haven't actually
quarterly.
done, yeah.
So quarterly. So the thing to consider here is there's two options you can provide as the entrepreneur. There's others, but you should just think about it as two. You could either provide straight up equity, which is you get, one share, and for that share you will not see liquidity, you will not see money back until there is an exit. So until we sell the company or until we IPO or something of that nature. So that will often take 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 years before the investor gets paid out. So some investors are really excited for that less money up quickly, but much bigger potential returns, like investing in Google for equity. While others, they don't like the idea of their money tied up for 3, 5, 7, 10 years. So there's a rev share model. The investor does not get to choose. It's the entrepreneur that decides the financial instrument. But you should think about that, and we help navigate all that with you as to how you want to position it for your audience. So Pia decided not a straight equity play, but rather a rev share play. So you gave up no equity.
Correct.
Gave up no equity, but rather you give up money off your top line or bottom line, whatever it is, you work it out as your deal terms.
Correct. Yeah. And also for us, because we already have a round of investors, so we would have had to think about dilution and et cetera. It just was simple to say rev share made sense.
And then, what was it like? I don't know what you're going to say here, but what was it like working with our team and our platform?
Horrible, no. No, Slavin, his team really made it very, very easy. I mean, it was October, literally, like we're 5 months in, we're still figuring out how to run the company. We didn't have time to go through a lengthy and complicated financial audit. The team really, really helped. Registering with the SEC is not something you're going to have time to figure out, I would assume, if you're running, a distillery. So, yeah, it was awesome.
So she's saying a few different components. These are all things that are required. It's different than a perks campaign on our platform or any other platform, which is kind of not so regulated. An equity platform play is very regulated. So to actually get something up on a portal, you have to get a few things done, which is one, you need to get the SEC approval. 2, you need to apply through what's called the Reg CF, Reg Crowdfunding application. 3, you need to have a financial audit, which is like a mini audit, not like a big audit, but a mini audit. And 4, you need to have a legal review of all your documentation. So if it sounds like, whoa, that's like a massive overhead, I have no idea how I'm gonna get all that done, we actually just walk you through all of that, and we have all the providers for all those parts. And then we have direct connections into the SEC or FINRA and all those organizations. So if you're totally buttoned up, which I'm sure most of you are not, but if you're totally buttoned up on all those legal and financial and all your audits and all that stuff, you can say, I'm interested, and you could be up on our platform in 2 weeks. And if you're not buttoned up, it could take 4, 6, 8 weeks to get that all done.
Yeah. So we were on the 2-week side, and we weren't even buttoned up. It was a push, but we got it done.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to comment about your experience with equity crowdfunding before we move on?
No, I mean, just again that, the money is great. You're probably thinking, oh, I could use a couple $100,000 right now, but I would just instill in you that the value of continuing to build and maintain a community of people that feel part of your work is worth way more than the cash.
Perfect. So we're going to be close to done here in a second, then we can take any questions anybody has. So how our companies have done, so we've posted 10 companies since we've launched, just under 5 months. We've done something like just under $3 million of investments. We're 10 for 10. We just launched our 11th company. We take pride in the fact that we have actually over 100,000 accredited investors, which are those rich people. And then we have millions of unaccredited investors, which is when she said that most people that invested in her company were not from her list, makes me smile inside, because that's the whole goal of Indiegogo, is to bring you money that you never knew you could find. So is equity crowdfunding right for you? You just need to decide that for yourself. We're here to help answer those questions. Anybody can email me. It's Slava, my first name, S and then lava like volcano, slava@Indiegogo. I'll connect you to my team. It's an application process. It's not like Indiegogo, the core business, which anybody can post anything, just like YouTube. This is highly regulated, so it's not allowed to be like that. If it was allowed to be like that, we would be like that. But it's not allowed to be like that, so you have to apply. We navigate through the application with you and then work you through the entire process to post up. So let's say you're thinking about doing this. Here's a kind of quick checklist. People ask, so what do I need to think about? What do I need to get ready? This is nothing official, but this is just something from our 5 months of experience that we've put together. These are the things we look for as part of the process to get you posted, which is we're looking for a good team. We want to make sure all the financials are buttoned up. There's no shadiness there. We like having a unique market. This is not distilling only. This is any company. Just to give you perspective, we've done a game, we've done a film, we've done a restaurant, we've done a robotics company, we've done other restaurants, we've done a coffee shop, a distillery. So it's quite varied, and we're doing that on purpose because we think the equity crowdfunding industry can permeate across many different verticals. We like to see that you have a good following. That's always a good indicator. And these are just, if you do have strong partnerships or some external funding already, like a VC or some other investors that have already invested in you, that's really great. You might say, oh, well, why do I need money if I already have money? I mean, this is just a great way of getting more money and being able to get more marketing and getting more people engaged and getting some of your most loyal fans to potentially be able to be participating in the upside. Now let's think about if you want to be an investor, what should you be thinking about? So again, you should be looking for a strong team. If you want to put your $100 or $500 or $10,000 in, you should be looking for revenue growth. What's the traction in terms of customers? You want to make sure you understand how the use of funds are going to be done. Valuations in terms obviously matter quite a bit, and then what's the market size? So the future is bright. I could give you a whole soliloquy here, but I'm going to just leave it to questions, and that's it.
So if anyone has questions, Drew here has the mic in the front, and we can.
Yeah, so the ongoing compliance required for equity crowdfunding, there is definitely ongoing compliance. So you have to do annual reports. We help navigate all that with you. It's called K1s. And we do those with you and basically do them for you with your information. You want our emails? My email is slava@indiegogo.com. And Pia's email is?
Pia, P-I-A, at republicrestoratives.com.
Yeah, so what kind of corporation entity do you have to form? It actually could be many different variations. We work with you on that. It does have to be a US entity, so you can't have a foreign entity. It could be a subsidiary, it could be parent. You're getting into some details here. We just walk you through all this. There's a lot of options.
Right here in front.
Is this just available within the States or outside the States at all?
As an investor, you can invest from anywhere in the world. As an entrepreneur, you have to have a US entity. So you can be Irish, or you can be Indian, or you can be, whatever, from Brazil. You have to have a US entity, though. The SEC will approve a US entity.
So what does this cost for someone going through this?
So there's a like $5,000 to $7,000 upfront fee to walk through all the auditing and all those things. We make no money on any of that. It's actually cheaper than if you do it through any other approach. And then the fees are, it's 7% for the raise. And then there's a small equity portion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, John George from Five Saints Distilling outside of Philadelphia.
Hi.
You might have mentioned this. Do you actually give out equity ownership, or is it the 1.5 times return over a certain period of time? I might have missed that, but.
You actually get to choose.
Yeah.
So you as the entrepreneur get to choose how you want to set up your financial instrument. So you either set it up that you're giving equity, which means that people will not make money potentially for a long time, or you choose another option. You can't do both. You choose another option, which is you're giving them a rev share, which means you'll probably be paying out pretty frequently, quickly. So it's up to you. And what? Do you want to explain why you chose what you chose?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this, but we chose the rev share because Rachel and I, frankly, didn't want to give up any more of the company. We already have gone through an investment round. And also because we have investors, so there's complications with adding a new round to that. So it just made more sense for us. We also have a pretty good bar business, so offering some revenue share from that, that was worth it for us.
But if you have no money and you want to offer rev share, it's not going to work out.
Exactly. You can't show there's any revenue.
No one's going to want to invest in your no cash flow business.
Right. Any other questions?
That was the funniest joke of the afternoon.
Yeah, wow. I thought that was
I've got a question. So in that $5,000 price, does that include filling out the whole Form C, or does that something that the individual entrepreneur would have to do, is question one. Question two is there an ability for the investor, for the entrepreneur to vet each investor in your program so that we can be sure that they're not involved in some other tier that would create a problem in the 3-tier network?
So the answer to your first question is all fees are included, including the application. So we walk you through all of that stuff. The answer to your second question is we work with you up front to understand what your parameters would be, and we won't close an investment from somebody that doesn't fit your parameters, but we don't try to go individual by individual. So if you already have, before you do your raise, you say these are the people I don't want in, then we will do that as part of a filter, or this type of party, or these type of people, then we won't include them. Obviously, it has to be within compliance, but yeah, that's how it works.
So you could say, I don't want anybody who has a distributorship license or anybody who has a retail license, and you'd vet those people to make sure that they would answer those questions in there, and we could rely upon that so we didn't get in trouble by the ABCs or TTB.
Correct.
Yep.
Hi there, I've got 2 quick questions. Pia, on your perk-based funding campaign, you said you actually had a video of you in the space, so apparently you raised money before the funding campaign. I'd like to hear a little bit about that. Second question, on the 1.5 time revenue share, does interest accrue?
So on the first question, Rachel and I had found the space, signed a lease. We had enough personal cash to put first last security down on our space. And that was it. So we shot the video inside the space, but like nothing, there was nothing in it. There was no, it hadn't been built out. The equipment wasn't there. So it was not, that was the Indiegogo perk campaign were the very first dollars that we raised for Republic Restoratives Distillery. And on the interest, no, I think is the answer to your question.
We would have to confirm that, so if you just email me, I'll follow up with you to answer exactly.
Yeah.
Great presentation. Question, you have 630 investors. Is there any downside to having all these investors?
No, I mean, the process of going through the equity crowdfunding raise, we did have a lot of questions come in. There's a nice platform where folks can sort of submit questions regarding our finances or our marketing strategy, and then we took it upon ourselves to make sure we answered all of them. But at this point, no, they are invested through a single LLC. So it's not as though I have 630 individual investors. Those folks form one LLC, and all of that is administered through Slavin and the team. So it's not as you'd expect that I have 630 K1s to issue at the end of every year, if that answers your question. So far, no. So far, it's all been positive. It's been people coming. We just did a launch of our third product, Rodham Rye, last weekend. We had a lot of people showing up and saying that they were an investor. It's great. They were coming to the space, and they might not have had they not been a part of the campaign.
And yeah, like I mentioned, the average right now is something around $750 an investment, which is around 7x greater than you'll get on a perks campaign. And I think we're just getting started. We've already had a good handful of 5-digit investments, including multiple $50,000 investments, and it's just a few months old. So I think it's still early. I think it's going to get pretty big. But
Agreed.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, here.
How did you determine the equity percentage of the CrowdShare LLC?
The equity percentage of the crowd.
You mean how does she set the terms?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're asking it's pro rata based on the amount of investment based on the overall 300,000 that owns the LLC. Is that your question?
So in your case, it was a revenue share, but if it was equity?
Oh.
Well, I'm going to answer the question. So we provide guidance as to how you should set it up in terms of valuation or in terms of the rev share. We don't tell you which one to choose, just if you choose one, we provide guidance. At the end of the day, the decision is yours. But we also need to make sure that the way you set it up in terms of valuation or rev share will actually be honest for investors to believe it works. So it's really a collaboration, but the investors at the end the entrepreneur gets to decide.
We have we have an SEC registered public company, and we're in a position where we could do an SEC registration statement. Is there any reason why we couldn't place that through you on a best efforts basis? In other words, we register it so it can go to accredited or non-accredited investors.
Right.
And then you place it for us and charge 7%. And we do it on you don't underwrite it, so you don't have to do a upfront commitment. We just do it on a min-max best efforts.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this is more of a personalized question. I would suggest just to take this offline. That said, for a Title III, we didn't mention this, the max of a raise right now, according to the regulation, is $1 million. If you wanted to be able to raise more than that and you wanted from accredited and unaccredited, because a Title III, the thing we've been talking about, is only for unaccredited officially, meaning you could be accredited, but you don't label yourself as accredited in a Title III. There is an offering called a Reg A Plus, which we didn't talk about, and it's unlimited raise, meaning we can help raise you $35 million. And that might be something that's interesting, but we can just take that offline.
I think in the interest of making the 1:30 session on time, we should wrap. We'll stay around for a few minutes to answer personal
Perfect.
questions. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Slava.
You're the best.